Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ogah and I'm a Nigerian YouTuber based in Lagos State. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today, we are going to be talking about something very important that people actually trivialize. We are going to be talking about depression, what depression is, how to deal with it, and how to heal from it. And of course, we have a guest that is going to take us on that. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Nifemi. I'm a certified psychotherapist and the founder of a mental health not-for-profit organization, My Beautiful Mind NG.
Thank you for joining us here today, Nifemi.
Thank you for having me, Joy.
Yes, so we'll just go straight into the video. And of course, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to this video and click the bell beside it so you can be notified when I post my next video. And of course, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. So grab your pens and your notes and come and learn. So we're going to be starting with what depression is.
Alright guys, so depression is a persistent feeling of sadness and worthlessness. Take note of the word persistent, consistent, frequent. That means you're not feeling sad for 2 days on and 2 days off. It's a persistent, you continuously every day. An individual coping with depression feels sad for 2 weeks at least non-stop. So depression is a persistent feeling of sadness and worthlessness.
Okay, so you have heard it all now. Depression is a persistent feeling of sadness for at least 2 weeks. So at least a minimum of 2 weeks. So now we are going to be talking about the signs and symptoms of depression.
Alright guys, so a depressed patient or someone coping with depression may have at least 5 of these symptoms. 1, the patient of course feels sad continuously for 2 weeks. 1, the patient loses interest in formerly pleasurable activities, like if you like going out on a walk. Now a patient coping with depression would rather sit at home and do nothing. Some even experience insomnia, you don't sleep at all, or some people just sleep the whole day because they'd rather not, go through the day feeling sad, so they'd rather sleep. Some people, become anorexic, they don't eat at all, they don't have the appetite to eat, or some people turn to food as a coping mechanism. They begin to eat. Okay, another symptom is fatigue and low energy. Thinking in the more serious stage, the patient or an individual coping with depression tends to have suicidal thoughts. Some people, it might even stop at just the thoughts, but some people now buy, the things that they can use to kill themselves. Or some people would actually go through the stages, they would actually try it, attempt it, and fail. So these are the symptoms of depression.
Okay, so now we shall be moving to the next thing that we'll be talking about, which is how do you know that someone is depressed? On seeing somebody, whether at face value or by studying the person, how can you say that, okay, yes, this person is actually depressed?
Okay, thank you very much. For some individuals or for some people coping with depression, now they have this thing called flat affect. They have this dull, when you look at someone, you can tell their mood. You can tell, oh, this person looks excited, this person looks angry, this person looks like, oh, he's cheerful, but they have this flat affect. You can't read expressions of their face. Some people have this sunken back. They're just, You can tell, and of course, you can, notice their moods and their expression. Or this person used to be a very extroverted person. This person loves to go out, but all of a sudden he or she is just withdrawn and doesn't want to do anything. And you're talking to the person's like, yeah. And then of course this person has a deep sense of guilt, or the person just continuously apologizes for things that may have happened 8 years ago, things that may have happened 3 years ago, things that he or she may not necessarily apologize about. He or she begins to, go around to people and starts apologizing and all those things. Yeah, so that's how you can tell if a person is depressed.
Okay, so now we would like to talk about what can cause depression. What are the causes of depression? What can make someone have that feeling of guilt? What can make someone depressed? What life instances can make somebody depressed?
Okay, so the major cause of depression, or the major trigger for depression, is generally loss of something. That is, you have lost an opportunity, you could have been fired from an employment, loss of a loved one, change in status. You used to be gainfully employed and now you're not. You used to be married, or you used to be the daughter of someone, and then that person that you used to be married to, or the person you used to be a daughter or a son to, is no longer with us. So those things can trigger depression. The loss or the change in a financial status, in the economic status, that's if you've lost your job, you've lost a loved one. Some people even experience, depression in what you call positive situations. The person was formerly single and now the person is married. And you're like, oh, why are you experiencing depression? This is a happy situation.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be happy.
Exactly.
It seems weird, or it seems out of normal that person can be coping or may be coping with depression, but because there's a change and the person feels like, oh, I really cannot handle it, or the person comes to terms with reality that, okay,
I'm actually now married.
Yes.
And I think in most cases, one reason why people may be depressed is if the person married at a very early age. Let's say a child marriage at about 15, 16. The person goes from, if the person was still single, the person was meant to have been under their parents, but this time around they're with a spouse that they have never been with, they're with somebody they have never been with, and if this person is way older than them, maybe like 20 or 30 years older than them, the initial feeling of being married to this person is enough to actually get the person depressed. Because you feel, oh, can I really handle marriage at this tender age of mine when I'm actually still supposed to be dependent on my parents?
Yes. In that situation, yes. But then sometimes people that actually get married at the, in quote, please quote and unquote, the marriageable age, right? Although I feel there's no such thing. You get married when you personally feel
you are mature enough,
ready for it. Okay, so there's some people that may get married at the, in quote, marriageable age that will still experience depression. Why? Because there's a change. There's a switch in their normal day-to-day activity. There's a switch in their title. There's a loss of some sort of identity. So generally, what can cause, or what causes or triggers depression is loss of a status, of an opportunity, of finances, of a partner or a friend or family. So those things can actually cause depression.
So we're going to be moving into scenarios in which people depict depression.
Okay, so I would give cases. Please note that these cases are not in any way related to any of my clients. They are hypotheses and fiction based. Okay, so I would be giving scenarios in the different phases of life. So we'll start from a student, a secondary school student. So this boy, let's give this boy Alex. Like I said, please note that the names and the stories given here are not based on any therapeutic experience. They are purely fictional, and if there's any coincidence, it was not intentional. So
yes,
Alex,
these are pseudonyms.
Pseudonyms.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Alex is a boy that has written WAEC and JAM. As we all know, WAEC is the standard exams for people moving from secondary school to the higher institutions. Okay, so Alex has written his WAEC 3 times, and he feels like, oh, you know what, I can't do this again. I've done a trial, error, and I feel worthless, I feel useless, I feel like I'm dumb, I feel like school is not meant for me. And then Alex now stops going for classes. Alex stops talking to his friends because the people that, he's used to have moved ahead of him, and then the people in his class, he can't really relate to them. So Alex stops coming to school, Alex stops talking to his friends, Alex stops picking his girlfriend's phone calls, Alex stops eating at home, and then Alex starts drinking. And then everybody is shouting, "You're such a bad boy, Alex. You're a dumb boy."
Which is actually compounding the problem.
Yeah, you are very dumb. I'm trying to look for a better word to use, but you're not smart. You're not educationally sound or academically sound.
Your mates have finished university. You are still here. You have not reached JAM.
You have not passed your WAEC and JAM and all these things.
The way they do it here in Africa.
And it makes Alex feel bad. And then Alex starts feeling guilty. Oh, I keep wasting my parents' money, so let me just not go to school. Alex stops, and Alex becomes angry. Alex becomes sad. Alex develops a coping mechanism with alcohol and drugs. Alex now goes to meet the cultist boys, the tout boys, and then everybody is complaining that what is wrong with Alex. So that's a scenario. Even though Alex is going through, in quote, his day-to-day activity, you can see that there are symptoms or there are signs that indicate that Alex is depressed. So that's one scenario. Now, Miss Tito is a beautiful young lady, a fresh university graduate. She got a job with a nice, corporate firm. She got a car with a fat salary, and she's giving housing with her job. Right? And then Miss Tito, all of a sudden, Miss Tito becomes withdrawn. Miss Tito does not perform well in her job. And Miss Tito graduated with a first class in economics, right, from a prestigious university. And everybody's wondering, what's wrong with Miss Tito? Well, what if Miss Tito cannot handle the pressure? What if Miss Tito has experienced something, or what if her relationships with her parents, friends, or partner is not going smoothly? So these are the things. Sometimes when we see people act out of place or out of their usual self, we need to stop and not hound them with questions,
or try to judge their actions. Try to see past those actions and try to understand why this person may actually be behaving that way. Because you really cannot just judge the way someone has behaved based on just one behavior, or you just meeting them for the first time. You have to get to know this person and understand the person's family background and some other things
understand even childhood experiences. Like we were saying, you don't know, and then we start hounding them with questions. We start, judging them. So the best thing is to always ask the why. Why is this person behaving like this? This is out of this person's regular behavior. Why is this person acting this way? Find out the why before you just hound the people with judgments and stab her. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so another scenario is Mr. Dan. Mr. Dan is 45. Mr. Dan is close to retiring, and Mr. Dan starts feeling like he's not good for anything. Mr. Dan starts thinking, oh, I'm already retiring, there's not much to life, and he just starts to lose weight. And Mr. Dan begins to be grumpy and grouchy. And everybody's like, why is this man angry? He's about to retire. he has stepped now. He has a lot of money. He's retiring well. He has his pension and all these things. He has so many insurances. But then Mr. Dan is looking.
Not happy.
He's not happy. He's looking at it as, where is my worth? And remember, we said that the definition of depression is a persistent feeling of worthlessness and sadness. So Mr. Dan is looking at it as, I am no longer worthy of this position in this organization. That is why they have to eject me. That means they see that I no longer have value. But then every other person sees it as, Mr. Dan is retiring, he's going to rest, he's going to flex.
After working for 30 years.
Yes,
He's now retiring.
He's now retiring. And then nobody really looks at it as, Mr. Dan sees, I'm no longer good enough for this position.
That's why they think that at this age, I should be put off.
Yeah, exactly. Another scenario is Grandma D. Grandma D she's a widow. She just lost her husband of 45 years. And she's 80, and most of her friends are dead. And Grandma B feels there's no more to life. So Grandma B just lies down on her bed. When you bring her food, she'll say, just drop it. And she won't eat anything. And she doesn't necessarily cry because she doesn't want to worry others. But Grandma B just lays on her bed. Grandma D just lays on her bed. And she's sad all the time. And she's always going, Those are, scenarios in each phase of life. Of course, depression is not necessarily limited to only these, examples. But then these are easy examples that we can all relate to. Yeah, so this is one, or these are some of the reasons or examples where individuals experience depression.
Oh, yes. So we're moving into the next thing that we have on our agenda for this video.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be talking about some other mental illnesses that are linked to depression.
Okay.
Are there some other mental illnesses that can cause depression, or other illnesses that can be caused by depression?
Okay. So there are some mental illnesses or mental disorders that have a hint or some of the symptoms of depression. I'll start with bipolar. So bipolar is a disorder that has the extreme highs. That's mania and hypomania, that's excitement, and then we have the depression. Okay, so when an individual is bipolar or is diagnosed with bipolar, sometimes this person could be manically excited, unnecessarily happy, full of energy and strong-willed, and is taking. Sometimes you say, this person is really energetic today, and then the other days he could be or she could be sad, and I'm not really in the mood, and have weeping spells. Weeping spells, you cry all the time, and you cry and you cry and you cry. So that's one. You have PTSD and anxiety disorder. So PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. So it could occur as a result of so many traumatic experiences. It could be robbery, it could be rape, it could be death, and then the person's reaction could be, of course, heightened sensitivity if it's a very traumatic experience like death or rape or, a robbery. You start to fidget, and then you now start experiencing the weeping tears because why am I really fidgeting? Why am I so anxious? And all these things. And then there's somatization, somatoform disorders, where this person starts to feel something like an insect or a spider is crawling, or some people even say there's a snake in my body, and then some people say, I'm having headache, or I feel like I'm having cancer, and all these things. I don't really want to go too deep into the medical terms, but then so that I don't scare anybody. Yeah. So some of these, other forms of mental illnesses can have the same symptoms or can be linked to depression.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You also agree that postpartum depression will be under PTSD, right?
Yes, of course. Postpartum depression, the traumatic experience is the process of giving birth, right? In as much as, in the African society, we make it seem like, You just go in, come out. It's not painful. Once you push out, the pain is gone and it's all worth it. This is not to take away from the preciousness or the significance of birthing a life, of course. But then for others, it is really traumatic because the pain, some people's pain threshold is very little. They can't handle so much pain. Some people go there and they are in shock. And then when they come out, they lose connection with the baby, they lose connection with the world, they start to feel guilty, and society expects them to naturally adopt the nurture nature of a mother. You have to be very nurturing, warm, and caring. You must love your baby. And they don't give room for the individual expressions of emotions. I hope, I'm not being too
Nigerian
medical.
societies where people actually come and assist you in your house. They all come and say, "Oh, how is the baby? Let me carry the baby." They don't ask about the
how
mother.
Are you doing?
How are you doing? I hope you are feeling better.
The funny part is some of them even come in and they now impose their own
rules. You must have flat tummy after 2 months.
Yeah,
you must be working
snap
out.
back.
The
pressure from the body snap back. The pressure from you must assume that mother nature immediately. They don't give time for the mind to switch.
Yeah, to get out of that state. That's why some new mothers usually get depressed. They no longer like their babies. They want to be far away from their babies, even though they are supposed to be enjoying
there's a significant change in their body. Imagine someone who's a model figure, and all of a sudden she gets pregnant, and then she becomes big. She starts, having, body marks, stretch marks, and then she's like, I don't look like myself. Yeah. I don't feel like myself. So you can't expect, so that's why we need to really take it easy, especially with new mothers and new fathers as well, because fathers can actually experience postpartum depression as well. Yes, because, there's a change from just me and my wife to a new baby. The baby is taking
all the attention switches from the parents down to the child.
There's pressure to be financially responsible, to also bring more, So all these things can also lead to postpartum depression.
So guys, we have come to the end of today's video. We hope you learned a lot from our discussion here today. Nifemi here is a certified psychotherapist. Actually, both of us are psychologists, but she took it further. You see, she's the boss in this thing. She took it further, and now she's a certified psychotherapist.
At My Beautiful Mind NG on Instagram, and then on Twitter it's at My Beautiful MNG. Then you can contact me personally on Twitter at Nifemi__S. I also host a podcast show where I talk about, of course, mental health.
The link to our social media pages and podcast will be in the description, so you can check her out. And if you need to contact her at any time, you can always reach me and we shall connect with you. Yes, we shall connect with you. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
All right, guys, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on your post notification.
And we shall see you in our next video. Bye.